Ever feel that initial burst of excitement after um, a great idea or maybe a decision, only to sort of watch it slowly fade?
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Right. So today on the deep dive, we're tackling that exact challenge. How do you keep that spark alive? How do you turn it into real, sustained growth and, action?
Hmm.
Our exploration today, it takes us into some training materials from a faith-based context, but honestly, the core principles we're uncovering, they feel surprisingly relevant to anyone trying to build momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether that's in a team, a project, or even just like your own personal goals.
Exactly. We're diving deep into this concept they call loving accountability.
Yeah.
And, well, we think it could actually be a key to unlocking lasting progress.
And what's really fascinating here is the specific timing our sources emphasize. We're not looking at the initial moment of inspiration itself, but the follow-up.
The follow-up, okay.
Yeah, a training session that happens maybe a week or two after that first gathering. And you think about how crucial that period is, right?
Totally. That's often where things drift.
It is. It's where enthusiasm can wane, good intentions get sidelined. Our sources pinpoint this return as a real turning point, kind of a moment of truth.
The moment of truth. I like that.
And they highlight two critical elements for navigating it successfully. First, genuinely understanding and addressing individual needs, like where people are actually at.
Okay, the human element first.
Right. And second, introducing this really powerful idea of loving mutual accountability.
Okay, loving mutual accountability. Well, we'll need to unpack that.
Yeah.
So if you listening have ever launched an initiative or tried to teach someone something new or even just set a personal goal and then struggled to maintain that initial drive.
Which is probably most of us at some point.
Definitely. Then this deep dive is for you. We're going to try and extract some really practical insights on how to build sustained engagement and, achieve meaningful growth.
And just to give you a clear picture of our journey today, we'll start by examining why that initial check-in when everyone comes back is so vital.
Makes sense.
Then we'll really unpack the practical side of loving accountability, what it looks like, what questions to ask. We'll also talk about why encouragement and keeping the bigger vision in sight are so essential for, well, long-term motivation.
Right. You need the why.
You do. And finally, we'll explore how to translate all this into concrete next steps and achievable goals.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So the group comes back together for this second session. What's the absolute first thing the source material says to prioritize?
Well, it's fundamentally about connecting on a human level first. The sources explicitly state the need to spend time asking how they are doing and ministering to their needs.
So not just jumping straight into the agenda.
No, exactly. This immediately addresses that feeling of being overwhelmed that, let's face it, so many of us experience. It's a crucial reminder that before diving back into tasks or commitments, acknowledging individual experiences, any challenges they might be facing, that's absolutely paramount.
Taking that moment.
Yeah. And the sources also mention including worship here as a way to sort of collectively connect and find encouragement together.
That makes perfect sense. You really can't just jump back into the what have you done without acknowledging where people are at. It's about understanding their current state.
Right.
And then, it seems, the conversation naturally moves towards the core of this session, accountability. Now, for some people, that word accountability, it can bring up images of like strict rules or even judgment.
Yeah, it can have negative connotations.
So can you explain what loving mutual accountability really means in this context?
That's a really important clarification, yeah. This isn't about some rigid checklist or a critical evaluation. Loving mutual accountability, as it's presented here, is about creating a supportive environment.
Supportive, okay.
Yeah, where people feel comfortable checking in on their commitments with each other. Not out of obligation or fear, but out of a shared desire for progress, for seeing things move forward.
Right, helping each other.
Exactly. And what's particularly insightful, maybe even a bit bold, is this claim in the source material that not asking about the agreed-upon follow-through from the first session is the fastest way to keep this group from becoming a movement.
Wow. Okay. That's strong.
It is strong. It really highlights how crucial that element of follow-through is for maintaining momentum and turning that initial enthusiasm into, tangible results.
So it's like the engine for continued movement.
You could think of it that way. Accountability, when it's done right, ensures that initial learning or commitment actually translates into real-world application. It doesn't just stay theoretical.
That's a powerful point. It really resonates, especially if you've seen a promising start just lose steam. And for you, the listener, who might be looking to gain knowledge quickly but thoroughly, This really underscores that accountability isn't just tracking tasks.
No, it's much more.
It's about actively ensuring that learning leads to action and, crucially, sustained progress.
Absolutely. And the sources even point to a kind of foundational principle for this sort of mutual support. They reference a passage that encourages us to consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, encouraging one another.
Spurring each other on,
Yes.
encouraging.
Yeah, the broader idea is fostering an environment where people genuinely support each other in living out the core principles and values they've committed to. It's not about external enforcement, it's about building a community of shared purpose and mutual encouragement.
Okay, so less top-down, more side-by-side support.
Exactly.
So how does this loving accountability practically unfold in this session?
Yeah.
What specific questions do they suggest asking?
Well, the source material offers some very concrete and actionable questions to guide this part. They suggest starting by asking something like, how did it go sharing with the names you circled?
Okay, direct and action-focused.
Right. Then moving to, how did they respond?
Understanding the reception.
Yep.
And finally, with those who believed or, responded positively, what happened when you trained them in session 1? Why, whom, how? Okay, I see the logic here. The first question is about taking that initial step, right? Did they actually do the thing?
Mm-hmm. Did they reach out?
The second helps understand the immediate reactions, what kind of reception they got. Maybe it was positive, maybe not.
Yeah, what happened next?
And the third one that really delves into the next level, were they able to effectively share what they had learned with others? It's about tracking that ripple effect.
Exactly. These questions are designed to move beyond just like individual effort and assess the beginnings of a wider impact. It's about seeing if the initial message is actually taking root and being passed on.
And it surely can't all be about just checking in on tasks, right? What's the approach when someone shares a success story? Or, on the flip side, when they've faced challenges or maybe didn't do anything?
Yeah, and this is where the loving aspect of the accountability really comes to the forefront. The sources strongly emphasize the importance of celebrating successes.
Celebrating. How?
Well, they even suggest having a mini party or pep rally right there, just to acknowledge each positive step forward.
A mini party. I love that.
Right. It taps into the power of positive reinforcement, creating memorable aha moments, and linking positive actions with positive emotions. It builds energy.
That definitely sounds like a way to build enthusiasm and make those moments really stick. But okay, what about when things don't go as planned? How do they handle setbacks or lack of action?
And that's equally crucial. There's a strong emphasis on encouraging those who encounter difficulties or, say, rejection. The sources highlight the need to pray for people they engaged with who have not yet responded positively.
So support for the situation.
Yes, and also to help troubleshoot for and encourage people who did not take action at all. Maybe they were scared, maybe something came up. The key message here is that the accountability should always be supportive and solution-oriented.
Supportive and solution-oriented.
Yeah, loving, not legalistic, as the source puts it. It's about fostering resilience, offering practical help, maybe figuring out what the barrier was, not assigning blame or making people feel bad.
That makes a huge difference, doesn't it? It creates a safe space for people to be honest about their experiences, even the less successful ones, knowing they'll get support, not judgment.
Exactly.
So after this whole accountability check-in, the celebrations, the troubleshooting, what's the next focus of the session? Where does it go from there?
It shifts then to reigniting the initial why.
Back to the vision.
Back to the vision. The sources stress the importance of casting vision anew, particularly for those who might be feeling a bit discouraged after facing challenges.
Makes sense. A bit of a boost needed, maybe.
Yeah. They even suggest using a specific story or vignette. The example given is called Heavenly Father's Heart to offer reassurance and a longer-term perspective. This is all about reconnecting with the underlying purpose and reminding everyone of the bigger picture.
And that directly addresses that feeling of potential overwhelm we talked about earlier.
It does. It provides renewed motivation when maybe things felt tough.
So important. You really do need to remind people why they started in the first place, especially when they've hit some bumps. And after reestablishing that vision, it seems the focus turns to, concrete steps for moving forward.
Exactly right. The session progresses to introducing a new piece of learning. The examples given in the material are lessons focused on, say, personal devotional life or prayer things for their own growth.
Okay, new content.
New content. But then, following this, a critical element is introduced: Immediate practice.
Practice right there.
Right there. Trainees are asked to practice what they've just learned in pairs, with guidance and encouragement from the leader or others. This active application is key to building both competence and confidence.
Because they'll need that confidence later.
Precisely. Because they will then be sharing the same new learning with others in the days to come. This step directly bridges that gap between just hearing something and actually being able to do it.
So it's not just passive listening. It's active engagement and immediate application in a supportive setting. That's like a really effective way to make the learning stick.
It really is. It builds muscle memory, almost.
Okay, and as the session draws to a close, what's the final focus? How do they wrap it up?
The concluding part of the session is dedicated to setting clear goals and planning for the week ahead. The source provides specific prompts for this.
Like what?
Like revisiting their name list, that list of people they want to connect with, and circling specific individuals they will actively reach out to in the coming week.
Making it concrete.
Very concrete. They also emphasize making actual plans like when and where to meet with and guide any new individuals who have shown interest, stressing the importance of repeating the entire supportive process with them.
So the pastoral care, the worship, the accountability, the vision, the teaching, the whole cycle again.
Exactly. It's a cyclical process building on itself.
And the source mentioned this idea of multiplying generations in the context of goal setting. Can you elaborate on what that means, maybe in a broader sense?
Yeah, that concept really speaks to the idea of creating a sustainable and expanding impact. The goals aren't just designed for individual action.
Okay.
They're designed to empower individuals to then equip others, who in turn will equip still others. It's about creating that cascading, multiplying effect.
So it's built for growth, for spreading.
Exactly. And then the session wraps up with a time of mutual prayer and encouragement, sort of recommissioning each other, ensuring everyone feels prepared and energized for the next phase of action.
Okay, so that covers the follow-up session, that moment of truth. But the source material also highlights the significance of taking action immediately after that very first moment of inspiration or decision. Tell us more about that critical first step.
Oh, this is a truly pivotal point. The sources argue pretty strongly that this initial session one, the one focusing on the why, whom, how, should ideally happen within a very short time frame.
Sure.
Like minutes or hours very soon after a new connection is made or a decision happens.
Minutes or hours. Wow, that is immediate.
It is. And they use a powerful metaphor here, talking about the need to instill kingdom DNA right away.
Instill kingdom DNA. Explain that a bit.
Well, it's essentially about embedding that fundamental mindset of action and sharing right from the very outset. Think of it as setting the default mode to action, not inaction.
Setting the default to action. I like that framing. So what does this immediate why, whom, how framework actually look like in practice? Break it down for us.
Okay, so it begins with why vision.
Mm-hmm.
The example provided is asking something like, what has this new understanding or experience done for you? Do you realize the potential impact it could have on those around you, your family, your friends?
So connecting the personal to the potential impact right away.
Exactly. Getting them to see the bigger picture and their potential role in it almost immediately.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the next component?
Next is whom. Name list. The instruction here is to immediately make a name list of everyone you know who might benefit from this new understanding or skill.
Just brainstorm everyone.
Yeah, get it down on paper.
Yeah.
Then the coaching emphasizes prioritizing this list, maybe focusing on connecting with, say, about 5 key individuals each week to start.
Okay, manageable chunks.
Right. And the source even suggests helpful questions to guide this prioritization, like, who comes to mind first? Or who do you think God wants you to tell first? Or maybe, who are the people who would be really excited about the change this has brought to your life?
Good prompts.
Or even, who most needs to hear this right now? These questions help make that initial outreach feel more targeted and meaningful, less overwhelming.
So it's not just a random spray and pray outreach. It's a thoughtful consideration of who might be most receptive or who has the greatest need.
Precisely.
And finally, we have how. What's the how?
The how sharing focuses on something very personal and usually quite accessible. Sharing your own experience, your own story, your testimony.
Yeah. Your personal story.
Yeah. For someone who's just embraced a new idea or learned a new skill, their own recent journey is often the most relatable and compelling thing they can share. It's fresh, it's authentic.
True. It's very real for them at that moment.
Very real. The source even uses an example from the Bible, where Jesus tells someone who'd just been healed to simply go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. Just tell them what happened. It highlights that immediate connection a personal narrative can create.
So keep it simple, keep it personal.
Exactly. And the coaching also includes helping them identify the key message they want to convey alongside their story, and definitely encouraging them to practice sharing it, maybe even right then and there.
It's all about making it practical and empowering them with a simple, effective way to share their experience right away. And the source really stresses the urgency of doing this initial session quickly, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It reiterates that delaying this initial why, whom, how step makes it significantly harder to build that foundation of proactive engagement, that kingdom DNA we mentioned.
So there's a critical window.
It really underscores that there's a critical window of opportunity right after that initial spark to set the pattern for action.
Wow. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. As our listener, absorbs all this, how can they take these principles, the follow-up, the accountability, the immediate action, and apply them to their own diverse experiences? Maybe things outside the specific context of the source material.
Well, I think the beauty of these principles is really their adaptability. Think about almost any situation where you're trying to inspire change or share something new,
Yeah,
right?
like at work or a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. Consider how these ideas of immediately establishing the why, getting people to really grasp the purpose, identifying their sphere of influence, their own name list of relevant contacts, and crafting a simple, authentic way to share their story or experience,
Uh,
how all that can be applied.
so it translates.
I really think it does, whether it's, rolling out a new initiative at work or teaching a friend a new skill, or maybe trying to galvanize a community group around a shared objective. These core elements of immediate engagement, clear directions, supportive follow-up, they feel universally valuable.
Okay, so to sort of bring it all together then, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive into fostering growth and action? What should listeners really hold on to?
Well, I think the core principles that have really emerged are, first, the vital importance of consistent and supportive follow-up. Don't just launch and leave.
Right, the follow-up is key.
Second, the power of that loving accountability in fostering progress without judgment. Third, the continuous need for encouragement and keeping that compelling vision front and center.
Keep the why alive.
Keep the why alive.
Yeah.
Fourth, breaking down goals into practical next steps, making it doable. And fifth, the really significant impact of that immediate engagement, that why, whom, how, right after an initial moment of inspiration or decision.
Don't wait to instill the DNA.
Don't wait.
Okay, and finally, a thought-provoking question for you, our listener, to maybe ponder this week. What name list do you need to create in your own life right now? Could be work, could be personal. And what simple story can you share to maybe spark action in others or even just within yourself?
That's a great question to reflect on.
Yeah, consider how you can put these principles of intentional follow-up and supportive accountability into practice right away.
Because ultimately, the framework we've explored today, it really offers a powerful approach, I think, to fostering growth and movement in countless areas of life. Think about how intentional follow-up and supportive accountability, grounded in a clear understanding of purpose, could lead to some surprisingly impactful and sustainable results for you.